Alex Ford. We're in Wardsburg, Illinois. Today is Sunday, April 21st. We're 2 days past at least inch rain with a tornado dropping down on near our facility the other night. We're out here doing some RTK boundaries in a new 612R.
Alex, how long have you been with the company?
I have been with the company now.
Or with Nutrien, actually.
I've been with Nutrien for 5 years so far.
And if you don't mind me asking, what did you do before that?
Before I worked at Nutrien, I was a furnace operator at a metal foundry.
So what made you get out of that and over to this?
So my stepdad has been doing this since he was 22 years old.
So your dad kind of got you into ag retail.
Like I said, yeah, my stepdad worked at another ag retailer and even put in some time at Nutrien himself. And I was just tired of the metal foundry job I was working. Getting a little bit too dangerous. Had a couple of close calls up on top of the furnace. I was done with it, so I figured I had worked previously at a different ag retailer temporarily in a fall doing some anhydrous tank filling, did a little bit of burn down spraying, and I really did enjoy the work I did there. I just wish the time that I spent there was longer, and just the cards weren't meant to be. So went and did the metal foundry work for a little over a year, and saw this position came open, so tossed in an application and landed me here.
Was it a position for an applicator?
It was.
Planted that one too, didn't he?
He did. See, this is the first rain part.
Wow. If that's the only bad part. Yep. got the goodies out over there. All this is straight running back and forth. I think one of the most awesome parts is during the most difficult parts of the field, we were just able to have a conversation.
That is true. That is a big testament to it.
Oh, you outlined that one.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I had no choice.
What about this one?
Nope. Right
I think I could have got a good picture of that. So much time do you think you save having these boundaries?
On average, I would say it only takes me 60% of the time to spray a field this cut up as compared to normal. We sprayed one this morning that you still can't cross over every single waterway just because it's got deep tile holes that hold water, and it still shaves 35 minutes spray time off of it.
Wow.
And even on fields like this where they've widened their waterways out, yes, you still have to border a waterway, but it just, the time and fatigue it saves from just setting the boundary fill is incredible.
Are you able to drive on auto steer around all the borders?
Yes.
Have you had any fields where you're like, oh, we need to go redo this one?
Yes.
What would you say the issue is?
I think our issue was mainly just being too careful with how close to the edge of the field we got. We definitely could have spared a couple inches on the edge of the field. And it's really not so much how close we get on the border of the field, because while it's not as convenient, we can always shut our section control off, scoot over. What it is on certain waterways, we notice it kicks off really early, kicks on really late. Really, it's only a couple of inches, but it'd definitely be nice to be able to go back out there and get it a lot more dialed in. And now that we've ran it over 14,000 acres, we have a lot better. We've noticed that the fields that we did later on were a lot more close on.
So you got better as the more acres you guys ran.
Exactly.
So would you like an option where you could maybe nudge while you're bordering?
That would be beneficial, yes.
So like on that border, if you wanted like a couple more inches over,
Yes.
then you could just nudge it.
Yes, that would be very beneficial.
Makes sense.
And the further this goes on for me, the more I'll have for you on this. Just I've only done, this is my, I've probably done 10 combined fields with boundaries in them. And I think I've only had one of those 10 where I actually thought to myself, hey, this boundary isn't good enough. I'm going to go through and manually border everything like I used to and just override it. And the only reason I did that was because the farmer particularly asked us, hey, hang over a little bit in this waterway if you would, please. Otherwise, I probably would have been okay with it.
How much of a pain is it to, do you just have to bump the section control to shut that off so you can manually drive it?
Yep. All I got to do is just hit that one section control button.
Okay. So, how long have you been an applicator, Alex?
This will be my 5th spring.
5th spring?
Yep.
How would you, what do you think about like the confidence of, like, when you first started spraying without these boundaries to the confidence of knowing that you did a good job going further?
It's definitely a big confidence booster. Anything that can help you kind of just regain some of that mental awareness while you're spraying, even if it's as simple as just being able to have an AB line on your boundary and know that it's set dead on correctly, especially with the RTK technology, helps out immensely.
This one would be kind of cool. Is it, would you say it's pretty sensitive going through the field in accordance with speed? Do you have to maintain a certain speed?
One thing I've noticed, and that was one of my biggest concerns, because before I ran this 612R, I ran a 4045, and it just had your original pressure-based diaphragm nozzle setup, and with that thing, I mean, just like anything else, you can set your pressure minimums, but at a certain point, it's going to just start over applying like crazy. Versus this, where I've got my pressure set at 40, doing, let's see, where's it? Right there, 10 miles an hour, holding rate, and I'll hold rate at 40 psi from 10 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour.
So, what about below 10 miles an hour?
Below 10 miles an hour, you will get a little bit of overshoot on your rate. It also just kind of depends on what rate you're spraying. If you were using this from a corn pre-plant with a heavy 32 or 28 rate, you wouldn't notice it near as much, just because your pumpkin is running a lot faster and you're putting down that heavy rate. It's not going to affect it near as bad. Most of our waterways, this one right here, I'm crossing at 8.5 miles an hour, and my rate got up to 11.1. And so you're still going to have a little bit of that overshoot, but for the amount of time that you're down there, this exact apply just kicks in and puts it right where it needs to be.
Well, you're only looking at like a gallon difference.
Yes.
Every once in a while.
Yes.
So, how accurate are the acres in the tanks as far as having leftover product now?
So since we did all this mapping and went back in on the echelon side of things and changed our acres to our mapped acres versus just the click and drag method that we used before, we've noticed we were off 5 acres on some fields, 10 acres on some fields, and that's over or under. And now that we've changed this, the most consistent thing I can find is you're going to shoot about, for every 30 acres in a field, you're going to shoot about a tenth of an acre over that. So if you have a 60 acre field, plan on spraying at 60.2 acres.
So you would bump your rate up to make sure?
Bump it down.
Bump it down, okay, gotcha.
Versus, like a traditional sprayer setup where if you're spraying, and that's across the board, that's with point rows, waterways, you name it, versus a traditional setup where you've only got, I think 1100 Bs have 7 sections, the 4045s have 11 sections, 1100 Cs, they have 36 sections that are computer controlled, 5 that are controlled via switches, and this one having 96. It's just, pinpoint accuracy.
What's Jake, the manager, is he pretty impressed with the production levels that you guys have been able to pump out on these fields, or how's his attitude?
He is. Whenever I first brought the side-by-side in, he was a little hesitant that we were going to be not so much wasting time, but using time that we could be doing other things to be mapping fields. And then we got in the field, and he realized in the first field we sprayed with it that we cut 45 to 55 minutes, depending on your sprayer experience level. Cut 45 to 55 minutes off that spray time of that field, and he was hooked. It also gives him, the confidence to go in there whenever he's making tickets for those confusing fields that we want to make sure we get the acre count right, that he knows his acre count is right on those, and it's really just a second backup method for him, in case because as a manager you have so many fields and customers to keep track of. You can go in here and you can see, to the T exactly how many acres it is. You can go further and further with it if you want, but he has become a fan of it. He is very happy and pleased with it so far.
So the planning aspect of it, so like when Jake looks at a field and sees that it's 80 acres, and then you think that it should only take you, half an hour to spray, but yet it's got waterways in it. Now, even if it does have those waterways in it, the time difference, the planning side of things, like, you don't get that phone call, what's taking you so long?
Exactly. and at the end of the day, you got, like I keep referring back to this field, and that's just because it's been the most impressive to me so far. If you're shaving, it's a field that normally takes an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes to spray. If you're shaving 45, 55 minutes off of that field, that's an hour of production. And then if you go back in the back end and look on your JD Op Center and just look every so often about what that machine is averaging per hour, because it pops up as soon as you open it, then you just think to yourself, okay, so I could, crank an extra 160 acres out just by boundarying a couple fields.
Watch your section control right here. You can go back over it.
I already had that part. I already bordered around that little bit.
Oh, I thought I hit it. Yeah. No, nice. That's awesome. They prefer, they would rather, now going at an angle, do you save your lines and go to the exact same lines next time?
Yes.
At an angle?
Yep, and it makes it even more convenient if it is 15-inch rows. It saves the exact same line. With the RTK technology, you're in the exact same spot, running over the same exact spot you were before, and any beans that have an affected stand by it. Right,
yeah, because I was, the first time you run over something, it's 60% compacted, right? So the next time you run over it, it might be 55% compacted.
Right.
So if you ran over a different spot in the field, would you rather have a 40% swing or a 5% swing?
Exactly.
Your compaction. So in the past 5 years, since what would you say, like your day is a little bit more hectic in the spring, but with like Ag Logic or Pro Dispatch, do you think you're working more, less, or more kind of like scheduled, kind of means to the end?
It definitely feels a lot more scheduled. One of the saving graces for me was I didn't grow up here. I grew up in a town 10, 15 miles southeast of here. So all my running around in my high school years was done down there. So I didn't know any of these roads. They'd give me a field name, a crossroads, and go. This helps out a lot by getting, now I've been here for 5 years, I'm a little bit more versed in the land and the roads. It helps me get where I'm going sometimes on our new fields, on our new customers. But with our newer guys that don't know this land, it gives them the same thing. And it also adds a confidence key by you're in the right area. Ag Logic will always pop up. If you're not in the right area when you start that field, it'll always pop up. You are not in the correct field. Are you sure you would like to continue? Will not let you start the field unless you acknowledge that. And with some of our newer guys that, like I said, don't know this area. That way they don't get in the wrong field, the correct field's being sprayed. Helps Jake out in there, keeping track of things, who's got what, you know, who is where. If somebody breaks down, who's close enough that I can send over there to pick them up.
How about your truck drivers that utilize the tender hub? How much does that save in phone calls?
A lot. A lot. And this time of year, I mean, me in particular, my phone is off my call all day long. And if it's one less call from a trucker, hey, I don't know where I'm going, can you send me a pin, share your location, explain to me how to get there, it just makes it so much more simple.
How many acres total was this field mapped for?
154.28.
Is that it?
154.48.
How many did you say?
154.48. It ran 2/10 long.
2/10 long. Cool. Oh man.